And welcome back. This will be part 2 of the video for the seat recovering / heating element replacement. If you are looking for the links to part 1 of this mini series, it will be in the description box below. Thank you. And welcome back. So I went ahead and just took it off of its mounts. It's just got rubber isolated mounts to keep it from, vibrating when it's in use. And on the back here, I was curious of it. I want to see if they had a voltage rating. They do. Hopefully you can see that. But it looks like they test the input at 6, 9, and 12 volts. More than likely how they control the speed on it is just varying the voltage. So we're going to set up a lab bench power supply at about 6 volts. Voltage limited at 6 volts. And current limited at 1 amp. And then we're going to feed it into our fan and just make sure our fan works. Now I'm going to go with the assumption here, and this is probably a bad assumption on my part. I'm going to go with the assumption, I fully admit that red is positive and black is negative. And I'm going to go from there. I'm going to get this set up with a pair of test leads, and I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. So hopefully you'll be able to hear this. I'm just going to give power to the fan. Again, 6 volts, limited to 1 amp. Pulling about 600 milliamps. You'll hear it spin up. Beautiful. Okay. That confirms at least that the vent fan in the back of our seat works. So we can go ahead and at least get that part reassembled. And then obviously we'll do the same test on the one lower. Again, just to make sure that works, again, prior to reassembling the bottom of the seat. But what I'm going to do is just flip this back around like this, get this reinstalled back onto its isolated mounts, and then we'll go and look into putting the new heating pad in. The heating pad in shouldn't be too hard of an install. We'll peel the old one off and stick the new one on exactly where we take the old one off at. But I'll bring you back in a minute. And welcome back. So again, just push that through. You can see where that ductwork goes through this piece here and then clips back into the fan. So it's just held on by some double-sided tape. We got an electrical connector disconnected already from the back, so we should just be able to pull this old one off. See, we're pulling a little bit of our foam with it, but no harm, no foul. See, it's nice and dingy and yellow. And that gets me to one of the other reasons for wanting to replace these. I may have made mention, and you can kind of see how dingy that one looks. Kind of has a yellow tinge to it versus this one. Now, some of this is just age, because plastics do tend to yellow after a while. And one of the other reasons why, again, that I commented on earlier as to why we're going through the trouble and the time of replacing the outer covers, even though we only had one slight rip here on the driver's side and the passenger side also looks to be reasonably okay, is that A, we were in here already because we knew that we had to replace the heating elements, and B, because whoever owned this truck before did smoke in it. And again, it's no dig. It's nothing negative against anyone who smokes. If you choose to do that, that's fine. That's up to you. And I can confirm that because obviously, if you're a non-smoker and you've ever been in somebody's vehicle that smokes, you can pick up on it right away. We also found not 1, not 2, but 3 disposable lighters underneath the passenger seat of this vehicle. And since these seats were ventilated, meaning pulling in basically cabin air and blowing it through the seats, this filter and these seats covers basically acted like big filters over time. And just having the seats out of the truck and sitting here in the garage overnight, you could walk up to them and it's just that very distinct telltale smell if you can tell when something's been smoked around for a while. So again, that was the other motivation behind not only replacing these because they were bad and needed to be replaced, but also the reason why we're looking at, replacing the covers is just to help kind of eliminate and get rid of a lot of that old smoke smell. So what we're going to do here And again, it's not a dig against anyone who smokes. If you choose to do so, that's all right. That is up to you. I am not here to judge. I'm just here to give my reasonings for why we're doing what we're doing. So just like the old one we took off, we got some double-sided tape here that we're going to peel off. This piece, which hooks up to the fan we just tested in the back, is going to fit right here through the predetermined, pre-cut out section of the seat. We'll get that clip back in the fan, and then we'll get our electrical connection reattached. But all I got to do is, again, just peel off the other half of this double-sided tape and get this thing stuck on. Now I'll give you the part numbers again for both heating elements once we get this seat back together. So it'll be a little bit later in the clip, but again, these are getting kind of hard to find, and I don't know why. I think I made this same comment in the previous video that these are listed as being used all the way up to 2022, and a lot of these part numbers are coming up as not available and discontinued. So even though we bought these before we tested them, which is something you usually don't want to do, you want to verify that you got a bad part before you buy a new part. You know, we went ahead and saw them pop up. Since they popped up and they were available, we went ahead and snatch them up while we could. And, you know, lo and behold, you saw us test both heating elements, and they are in fact bad. But let me go ahead and get this stuck to the seat, get this wired back in and clipped back into our exhaust fan back there, and we'll continue on with then getting the cover off our bottom seat. And now that I think about it, I'll show you. I'll show you from the aspect of taking it apart. But remember, we got a new bottom piece of foam to go along with our seat cover itself. So technically, we don't have to take that one apart. But I'll show you what that one's like, just in case you do have to take the cover off of that. But let me get this installed, and I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. So I'm going to get you set up here on the tripod. Look at our voltmeter. And just want to show you the resistance reading of the new element for the back of the seat now that it's installed. Once I can get my test lead to line up. There we go. See 11.1, 11.2. That is right in spec where it should be. Remember, the previous one we took out was about 30-ish ohms. So although it is although the old one was reading resistance, it's out of tolerance. But as you can see, we've got our vent reattached, our vent ductwork reattached to our new one here. And we should be good to go. We got our, actually go ahead and remate our electrical connector, which is our green one. There we go. So we got a fan plugged back in, our heating element plugged back in. And now what we're going to do is go ahead and take our lower seat cushion we spoke of earlier and just work on getting it, getting the cover off of it. Which I'll go back and look at their install instructions, but it doesn't look like there's very much left, because a lot of this is the old cover is just, the felt is just eroded on it. Yeah, looks like we've got that piece. And let's do, well, actually let's do this here, because this is going to have to come up and over this back strap here. Okay, and there are going to be some hog rings on this as well. Looks like we can now fold up our sides. And again, if you don't have heated or ventilated seats, the process to do this is the same. You just don't have extra electrical connectors or that to worry about. And if you're in here just replacing a part and not necessarily needing to replace the elements, and you can even see a hole in that one right there, replacing these heating and cooling elements, then you obviously want to be careful with what you're doing when you're taking this thing apart so that you don't damage that resistive element. Okay, let's see. Yep, we got hog rings here on the side that we're going to have to start cutting, and I'll get you a count. When I bring you back, I'll get you a count. You can see it looks like, at least on this one, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like there's 5 on each side that we need to cut, and then we can get the rest of this cover off. So let me do that, and I'll bring you back. And welcome back. So yep, there were 5 on each side, and there's also going to be, looks like 1, 2, 3 in the middle, and that should then detach our cover. I think that's the last of the clips. So let's see if I can do this. A little bit of live, well, not live action, but show you a little bit what I'm doing here. I'm just getting down in here where this hog ring is at. Again, it staples a section of this material. It kind of has this, hopefully you can see that there, this hard plastic type edge into a metal bar that runs, and the foam itself is what it's clipping onto. And basically just like giant staples. I'm just getting down here with a pair of side cutters. And if you're going to do this and you're not in here to replace your seat heating elements, just be careful when you're cutting. And also when you get these cut, just make sure that you get all your pieces picked up, just so A, you don't puncture your seat, and B, you definitely don't want to puncture your seating element with a piece of stray metal and cause a short and then a fault. There we go. There we go. You can see our cover is off. What I'm doing is just coming down in here out of these holes and just digging out the remainder of these hog ring clips, and just making sure that none of it stays behind. So you can see there's a piece still in the foam on this one. There we go. And that's what I'm looking at doing. Just making sure that we get all of this cleaned out. Now on the passenger side, we will be using the existing foam. We won't be replacing it because I didn't order 2 pieces of foam, because the seat shop has, as they last I saw in one of their videos, very limited passenger molds, because 9 times out of 10 the passenger side is the same as the driver, and in cases where it's not, you can just order a driver piece of foam and cut it to match. And I did not have time enough to get a passenger piece of foam in here, but considering this piece of foam is actually still fairly decent, and it's the driver side, that's I have no problem reusing the passenger foam. So you can see we got the same type of heating element. It's just double-sided taped in place, but you can see a lot of this foam on this seat cover, the old seat cover. This stuff is just falling apart and crumbling away as kind as you touch it. And that's just due to age. It is a 2010 seat after all. Hopefully you can see that a bit more. You can see that kind of paper wrapped metal rod that runs through there, and that's what the hog ring clips are clipping onto. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go get the replacement piece of foam and put the new heating element in it, and then we will continue on from there. We'll look at getting the bottom seat cover and getting its foam in place. Again, looks like we're dealing with 5, 10, 13 hog rings per bottom seat to get clipped in place. And then I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. So this is our Durafoam. You can see here, or what the seat shop calls their Durafoam product. So it's just a replacement bottom foam piece that we're going to put on the driver's side. We're just in the process of getting our new heating element situated. So this has got a duct that hooks up to the fan that feeds through the side of the seat, side of the foam, just like it did on the original here. And these looks like they get pushed down a little bit and kind of yeah, you can see we've got some double-sided tape there. They get pushed down inside of these channels that you see here. Basically, we want this edge of this heating element to be in the edge of the foam like that. So we'll have to do a little manipulating, a little bit of scrunching to get that to fit in there. And then once we have this in place, then what we'll do is come back with our seat cover, our new seat cover, and start getting that situated. So I'll bring it back in a minute. And welcome back. So I got our hog rings out that they supplied us with the kit. Hog ring pliers, which I picked up on Amazon, and the big difference with hog ring pliers is you can kind of see it has a groove in there. These are also spring loaded, but it has a groove in there to hold the clip. Looks like a big metal staple. So what we're going to do is clip so we got our bottom cover somewhat centered, or centered from side to side, I shouldn't say somewhat. And we're going to start by clipping our 3 hog rings. First one being the bottom center. You can see right there with that blue piece of material. We're going to staple that to that metal bar that's running through the bottom of the Durafoam product. And then we're going to get that one in, and we'll get the 2 on the sides, and then we'll roll this out and start doing the 5 that we need on each side location. And one of the things the guy was doing on the video, again, you'll have to watch their install video because I'm sure he'll make a lot more sense than I do, is that he kind of comes down this way and then clips the bar, I guess, on one, from the looks of it, on the material, so that blue bar clips on one, and he clips that metal bar on the other one, and then crimps it down. So again, I've never done anything like this before, so I'm gonna kind of give this a shot. It doesn't look too terribly difficult, and like I said, the bottom piece by far has the most hog rings in it at 13 of those, versus the top, which just has the 3 that you see there. So I'm gonna give this a shot, and then I'll bring you back. And it's gonna be kind of hard for me I'm also fighting this thing here as well, because this is new and it's supposed to be pushed down in to these channels and kind of sticky in place. So a lot of new material, just kind of fighting it a little bit, but just need to get things lined up and then get it stapled in. And then once I get the 3 stapled in, I'll bring you back and show you what it looks like. One moment. And welcome back. So I'm going to try to show you one of these. I don't know how successful it's going to be, but there's our hog ring pliers. We got our clip loaded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these feet and hook it over this blue strip of plastic. Use the other one to try to grab that bottom strip of metal, and then once we have both of those, crimp this ring together. What I want to do is push this little. I'm pushing the pouch of the heating pad out of the way, in case you're wondering, because I don't want to pierce it with a staple. There we go. That's what I'm looking at doing. So what I'm going to do again, what I'm doing here is I'm going to grab right above the blue bar. There we go. Get my staple in that way. Hold on. You see if I've got a better one. Yeah, this one has a little bit longer feet on it. There we go. What I'm doing, I'm just switching staples inside the hog ring pliers for one that has slightly longer feet on it. So hopefully you can see where that staple is going to grab. It's slightly above that blue bar, so I'm kind of piercing the gray fabric above it. So you can see I've got it grabbed into there. I'm going to loop in and grab the bottom bar, which I now have. And then I'm going to just squeeze the pliers together, let go, and there we go. So you can see that staple is now looped around here, looped around the blue bar, and it's looped around the metal bar that's riding inside the foam. So we got one more to do on this bottom piece, which is going to be the kind of the same process. And again, I'm trying to keep this much of the material is just rolled back out of the camera view as I can, but so I'm just going to load up. And the nice thing about the Hog Ring pliers is that it does have a groove in it to help hold that staple. So you don't have to, because if you, like the guy says in his install video for this seat cover, if you try doing this with a pair of needle nose, you're going to be popping staples all over the place. And by popping, I mean shooting staples all over the place. Hold on. Yeah, the foam cover, there it goes. That's what I'd see. I had to expose it because it was covering up the brown portion, so I want to make sure I get the leg of that staple underneath that. So again, I'm slightly above the blue bar on that one. Hold on, I gotta get some light. It looks a lot more difficult than what it is because we're trying to film this. Nope, I missed it. You can see I missed the bottom bar when I was crimping that one. And again, I cut it, so I want to make sure I get all the old bits of metal out. And we're going to try this again. I got to make sure I get at least one leg of that staple underneath that bottom bar. And they did give you extra rings with the kit. They give you a pretty good bag of clips with the seat covers. There we go. There we go. Okay, so I've clipped around the bar. Well, I had around the bar. So I'm on around the bar on the bottom. I'm above the blue bar on top. Now I can crimp that together, and there we go. So I know it looked worse than what it was on the camera there. It's because I'm fighting with a shop light. And we got two pairs of hands in here trying to get that on camera. And plus this is new, so it's kind of not bunching where it's supposed to bunch. But now that we have that where it needs to be, we can take our top cover and unfold it. I just want to keep it on top of it. Now there is a trick to getting the wrinkles out of here, so I'm going to have to go back and watch his install video, but basically it involves coming in and doing something like this. Once we have these in place, and we have these all these hog rings in, and there's 5 per side to put in, then we can kind of put our hand underneath here and roll this forward to get this to lay flat. But I'm going to go back and look at their install video and make sure I'm not missing anything, because what we're trying to avoid is just having a bunch of like excess creases or things of that nature in the corners of this, because you can kind of see I've got some lines in here that shouldn't be in here. So anyway, that was the 3 that goes there. We're going to situate the seat cover and get the 5 that go down each side, and then we'll go on from there, and I'll bring you back in a bit. Hey, welcome back. So I'm going to try to show this to you again. We got the 5 hog rings on the other side already in place. It's a bit easier to show you on the side ones, but again, I'm just loading a hog clip, as they're called, into our hog ring pliers. And what I'm going to do, actually, let me start with the one here in the end. It'd probably be easier to see. You can see the metal bar, kind of brown color inside the foam, and you can see the seat where I'm going to attach it. Again, because you can see the breaks in your foam, so you know where to put your hog rings. You don't have to guess. So one leg of this I'm going to clip and catch above this blue piece of trim, or blue piece of plastic, and the other one I'm going to use and catch underneath of that bar in the foam. There we go. So I've got the top part of that clipped. And what I want to do, and I've got the bottom part clipped. Now I can just take the pliers, crimp them together, and there we go. That gives us our first hog ring, and we'll do the same thing all the way down, get all 5 in, and then we'll finish putting the bottom cover on. But I'll bring you back in a moment. Okay, so just to show you, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we got all 13 of our hog ring clips in. Now, the way the guy said to do this on the video is to take a cushion like this. He wanted to roll it out, but what he did is he took his hand here, left it here, didn't break pressure here, and basically used it to push this forward. Put that underneath there. There we go. Get that. Let me try that again. See, this one doesn't have as much side bolstering as the one they were doing in the video, but basically he's just pushing in here to eliminate wrinkles, keeping pressure in, and rolling that out. You can see that we don't have as many wrinkles as we did last time I went in here and did this. And then he took this, pushed it this way, kept pressure here, and then just rolled this one also back down. And when you hold it this way, it helps take the wrinkles that were out of this side out. Looks like I got one little wrinkle here. There we go. And again, a lot of this is all be a new foam and new leather. Or I should say, usually what's leather is the strip here in the center, and then what's out here on the sides is normally just vinyl. And you can tell those guys in the video have been doing this stuff a long time, because when you watch how they do this, they just, you know, zip, 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 and they're done. Okay, so the rest of this will come out once we redo our clips and the bottom. So also, what I want to do then is take this strip here that you see me playing with. This is going to go underneath and onto a channel on the bottom. So you'd see it resting just in this back channel of foam. And this is also where the back seat rail of the frame also sits, is back here inside this channel. You see that did a really nice job of tightening up for us, which is awesome. That's for our heating element. That gets it reattached to our fan underneath. All right, nice. Okay, so that being done, we're going to set this off to the side, because without having this installed, it makes it easier to get the top of this seat on. Now the top of this seat, to put the cover back on the top of the seat, or the new cover, it's about this reverse process. So it's easier to have it, as they show, folded inside out, put it over top and kind of just roll it out, and then kind of get it pressed in place. Now they suggest, if you have access to a steamer, to steam this foam. They said even though Dodge has pretty stiff foam, they said to steam it, and it will help that foam kind of expand out and give you like a really nice, tight, really good looking fit. I don't have a steamer, so I'm not going to do that. But anyway, that was one of their tips. Now, this piece of plastic was on here from the factory. I didn't see it on their seat when they were putting everything back together, so I'm actually just going to take this little piece of plastic off and discard it. To be honest with you, it kind of just looks like a piece of heavy-duty saran wrap, to be honest with you. But I'm going to grab the new top, and if I hadn't told you this before in an earlier the video, they do mark on here I'll show it to you. I gotta find it again. There it is. On the backs of all these will be marked, you know, which ones are driver and which ones are passenger. So let me get the top, let me get it kind of folded inside out and get it ready to put back on top. And just as they suggest, it's easier to have the frame sitting on the floor when you're going to do this, because then that way you can kind of unroll and push down from the top versus having this on a table. So I'll bring you back in a minute. And welcome back. So you can see we're trying to follow their instructions here. And we've got the kind of the seat folded halfway inside out and got it on to the point where it looks to be centered. As when I had to do a little bit more work on this side because it's a little bit spongy, but we'll get that sorted. But basically we're getting it on about halfway so we can come down to our midpoint, if you remember, and get our 3 hog rings in. And then once we have those in, we'll work to continue to unfold this seat cover. But yeah, per their instructions, it seems to be the easier way of doing it. Again, you can see we kind of got it folded inside out, got the top half on, get the hog rings in, and then fold out the rest of the way. And remember, the 2 sides of this are Velcro. So once these hog rings are in, as we're coming down, we're just going to make sure that we press these into this Velcro so that way this cover sits nice and tight like it's supposed to. So we're going to continue again, I'm not going to show you putting the hog rings in because we did that earlier on the previous segment, and I'll bring you back once we finally get the or for the next step in the cover install. One moment. And welcome back. So you can see that we've got it in place. And as you're pushing this down, and you'll see this in their install video, what they want you to do on this top half and the seams is just follow these seams down, because there's Velcro in these channels, as you're pushing this down, and make sure that Velcro gives it a nice bite. And then when you have the entire cover unrolled, which we do here, then another thing they have you do is put it on its back. And I'll pull this chair out more in the light here so you can see. There we go. And then they got you reaching up on the inside of here and then pulling as you do, pulling this material tight to make sure it's nice and tight, and then this lower Velcro attaches into that channel. And so that's what I'm going to do right now, is attempt to take care of that and show you. I'm going to show you a little bit of it, probably not the whole process. Their video is by far better than anything that you're going to see me do. And what he does is he reaches up in here with his hand, grabs that Velcro strip, and pushes it down into place. Just getting that, there we go. So that, yeah, that bit really, really well through there now. And you can kind of see the difference between this side and this side. This side is tucked in nice and tight. What? Okay, so I'm just going to grab this piece of Velcro. That one didn't grab. Okay, so we got to work on this side a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to continue to work on it just like we did on this side. Get this Velcro to bite in, and then now I'll bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. So we got the sides in, got the channels in, got all the Velcro started, and we're in the process of just getting this bottom clip to clip in. That was the next step. And if you remember, it's a C channel, so they kind of just interlock like that, just like when you took it out. So what I found useful per even their install video was to remove the metal bar that went across here. It gave you a lot more room to get in here and work. And then as one person was kind of pulling on this to get some slack on it and relieve a little bit of the tension, then just took a flat blade screwdriver and pushed it down on this side to finally get it to clip in, and then just, you know, kind of walked it across to get it to clip across. So this was that bar. Put this bar back in, and there you go. Because you can see with this bar in here, it makes it, just like on the removal, it makes it a bit of a pain to try to get in there and work. But you take this out, it makes a huge difference. So we're going to get this out of here, and then we're going to move on to the next step. One moment. And welcome back. So we've got our lower foam in place. And remember, this is new foam that we're dealing with here. We make sure that when you're putting your bottom seat in, that you're routing your airbag duct correctly, because remember, it comes out of the foam on the side and comes out the far side. Basically, it's not going to be in between these springs here. So we got to get that clip back on. When you pull this foam in, you see it, got to pull it over this back tube here, so it just kind of rests over it. We're going to remake our electrical connection, and then this piece right here will clip over these two pieces here, and then we'll start working on the clips on the sides in the front and getting those situated. So let me just go ahead and take care of some of this and bring you back. One moment. And welcome back. So went ahead and reattached our air duct, and we did use our power supply like you saw me do earlier to verify that fan is good, and it is good. And you can see that we've got our side clips reattached to our seat. You just pull them down. If you have trouble getting it to stretch, just kind of push down on the seat like that, create some slack, and then roll these clips over on the sides. You got two clips on the side there. You got one clip on the side here, and you've got, let's see, that done. We reattached that, reattached our fan power. We do have a seat belt that we eventually need to put back on, but we're going to hold off on that, because if you remember, when I took the old one off, the little release button looks to be a bit broke. So we're going to work on that, see if we can fix it. If not, we're going to steal one off the Red Ram when we pull the seats out of it, and we'll just replace that buckle before we do the install. The front clip, as he says in his install video, you'll hear this kind of crack snap, crackle, and pop into place. If you're having trouble getting it to go all the way forward, just do as they suggest and grab the front of it, compress the foam, pull it towards you. That'll give you the slack to get this piece up and over and to bite back in to that channel. So now what we can do is work on just getting our trim pieces and stuff back in, and our basically our electronics, our seat adjustment buttons and such here on the side, and then we will I'll bring you back when we basically get our trim pieces in. One moment. Oh, we still need to put our headrest in, so there's going to be a little bit of a process that you got to follow for that, to get the holes cut correctly on the top of the seat, to put the little pieces back in, and then drop the headrest back in. So one moment. And welcome back. So we've got our side trim and all of our electronics reattached, reassembled at this point, and now we just need to make the holes at the top to put our headrest catches back in. Now, one thing they have you do on the install video is kind of just stand it up on end and figure out where the divot is at, basically where it kind of falls into a void. Make a small cut and verify that you're in the right spot. Once you get one in place, then you could use the headrest as an alignment to get the second one. Well, since our covers are good and we know they fit, not an issue with them, looks good as well, I took it maybe about one step further. I cut the top off the old seat cover for this seat. And if we just kind of throw it over the top like that and use it as a little bit of a guide, kind of using the top humps as alignment between the piece our new seats and the piece we cut off, that will kind of get us in the ballpark of maybe where we need to be. And what we'll do is we'll make a small hole. We'll cut a small hole, just like their video. Verify that we're in the right spot, and then we'll get them in. But you can see the footprint these releases take up. So you've got quite a bit of room that you can play with there as far as making your incision. But I figured just cutting the top of the old seat off and using it as maybe a little bit of a template might help make the job a bit easier. So what I'm going to do is just make a little bit of nick here, a little bit of a hole, and then turn that into a little bit of a hole. And we'll verify we're in the right spot, and then we'll get our first headrest peg reinstalled. So I'm just going to nick it with a box cutter, cut out a little circle with a pair of scissors, and then go from there. So I'll bring you back and show you what it looks like. One moment. And welcome back. See, we got just a little exploratory hole here. Cut out some of the foam underneath, and then just took a long enough screwdriver, and right there, if I just kind of rotate the screwdriver a little bit, I can feel the hole in the frame that these pieces fit into. So that tells me I'm pretty much right where I need to be, right there. So what we can now do is just make this hole a little bit bigger in order to accept our piece and get our first one in. Once we have that in, like I said, you can use this, you can use the headrest at that point to kind of mark what you need, or we can just kind of go back to our template, and our template should be able to get us in the ballpark of where our second hole needs to be as well. So I'm going to work on getting this one in, and I'll bring you back. One moment. And just remember, when we took these out, these tabs right here, these unlocking tabs, they both faced, if you're facing the back of the seat, which we are, they both face towards the left. Bring you back in a moment. And welcome back. You can see we got our first one in. These actually have a pretty good circumference of a hole they need to go into, and obviously you can tell that by looking at the originals. They cut a pretty good sized hole out of it from the factory. I didn't quite cut it big enough, and it kind of pulled the material a little bit when it snapped in place, which is why you kind of see some creasing in through here. It's going to do this, I need to cut this hole a little bit bigger before I push this down in place to get it to snap. but it's not where you can see it, and it's going to be underneath the headrest. So yeah, it kind of annoys me a little bit, but that's because this section right here grabbed the fabric and pulled down on it when it did it, and just caused it to crease up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead, and you can see I used the template as well as just verified it with the original headrest. You can see if our first one's going to go there. You can see where our second one's lining up, right where we cut it, using again the top of the old seat covering as a template. So I'm going to work on getting this nibbled out, make sure we're in the right spot, and get this one pressed in place. And I'll bring it back as soon as it's done. One moment. I just want to show you that here. So it's just in the process to kind of whittling away at this. But if you look down in there, you can see that you can see the hole in the frame, that little metal piece down there, the first metal piece that this locks into. So that tells us we're right on target. And when you're doing this, you can feel right where that kind of falls into, like right there, it's hitting metal. But if you turn it ever so slightly, you can feel right where it falls into place. So I'm going to continue to whittle away at this and bring it back. One moment. There we go. So we got our other holder in, got our headrest reattached, and that is it. This driver's side seat is done. I'm going to wipe it down with a little bit of leather cleaner just to clean off the fingerprints and such. But that is a good heating element that will go into the passenger side seat. So you can see that's the after, and that will be the before. So much better color match. Obviously, you know, it doesn't have, you know, UV exposure from 2009 on up, so you can kind of see that there. You can see that the old material, you know, was starting to get a little bit stiff, a little bit dried out. Probably wouldn't be too much longer before that would start to crack, you know, versus our new material here. Plus that in conjunction with a new piece of foam should make this a really nice seat. And as you saw, we did test, and we did have two bad heating elements, both the one that goes in the back here for the backrest and the one that goes into the seat. We tested the new ones, got the new one installed. We all went ahead and also tested, as you saw, the ventilation fans for both the back seat and the seat cushion, as well as the back of the seat. Both of those are working fine. So at this point, the only thing left to do on this one, and I'm gonna hold off on it for now until we can work on it, is putting the seat belt back on and remaking its electrical connection. Only because, again, it doesn't look like it's actuating correctly. So I want to see if we can get that fixed, and or just take one off the red Ram when we pull the seats off of it, and we'll put the seat belt back on at that point. So again, this seat is done. Hopefully this video was helpful for you. What I'm going to do before I conclude this one is I'm going to go ahead and do the passenger side seat next, get it taken care of, and I'll come back and show you when that one is finished. Obviously, I'm not going to film it again because it would just be a complete duplication of what you saw over here. The only difference is being, with it being a passenger side seat, stuff's in the opposite side of the seat. Most of the stuff, like over here, your electrical controls are accessible from the driver's point of view from the left-hand side, and on the passenger side, obviously electrical controls are on the other side because of the way the seat faces. But either way, I'm going to work on this one. I'll bring you back once it's done, and I'll show you them both side by side. One moment. Well, moment for you, probably a few hours for me, but I'll catch you in a bit. And welcome back. Well, as you can see, we've got our passenger one now completed. So here's a shot of them side by side. Same process as we did on driver's one, except for this one, we did not change out the lower foam. This the seat foam, we left that original. Again, just because I didn't pick up a second one for that one, and generally you're going to have more wear and tear out of your driver's seat than you will your passenger. And the foam, when I looked at it, looked perfectly fine. There didn't want any major issues with it. As promised, I told you I'd show you these part numbers for the heating elements. Now, these are for the ventilated and heated seat setups. So there's your part number there. And this one is for the back section. So that part number will feed this area here. And this second part number here, that will be for the seat section. And on this particular model, this is what the seat shop calls the waterfall front, meaning you've got a stitch here, but you see the perforation of the lower seat cushion actually continues forward and then wraps around. And on some models, they actually will take this stitch line and continue it, and the perforation will stop here, and this will just be solid. But on this particular model, we have what we call the waterfall. And if you check out their website, maybe you're looking for a set of covers to do something very similar, they'll cover all that on the site, which as far as you making sure that you order waterfall or non-waterfall and things of that nature. And again, they send Hog Ring clips with the kit, and what we ordered were, obviously, as you can see, bottoms and tops both for 2 sets of seats, mainly because we were going to be in there taking them apart to replace those heating elements. And also, as we commented on earlier, with these seats coming out of a truck that was an individual who was an obvious smoker, just looking to, put some new material on them and hopefully get rid of some of that cigarette smell with these, now not being something that is basically filtered cigarette smoke for the last X number of years. When we did check out the resistance of the bottom and seat heating elements for the passenger side, they were both bad, just like they were on the driver's side. They are now checking in within according to the book spec for the resistance reading on them. And there you can see kind of the aftermath. These are the old heating elements, all 4 of them. And you can see that they definitely came out of an older truck. They do have some wear and tear on them. That's the old driver's seat cushion along with its heating element. And if you have the ventilated, the non-ventilated but heated seats, keep in mind that your part number will be different because you won't have this extra duct work, which is made to go along with these perforated seats that allows airflow, to be blown up through the bottom. Of course, this is our old leather here. Leather/vinyl off of our seats. The cats are already claiming this and starting to sleep on it. They were earlier. And just as a reminder, this is how we made sure that we got our holes in the right spots for our headrests. We just cut the tops of the old seats off, laid them on top of the new one, and it gave us a really good starting mark. So as you can see, it's done. I had to give hands-off credit to the seat shop. They're not kidding when they say their product matches OEM exactly, and even, I would say, even exceeds it to an extent. Everything, all the covers fit. Everything that needed a locking tab had a locking tab. There were no issues with fitment, and nothing had to be adjusted. Literally, the old stuff came on, the new stuff went on. And their instructional video, which again I will link in the description, was right on the money, which as far as what was needed to be done. Remember, the extra work we did on top of doing the new vinyl and leather was just changing out those heating elements. And we got a little bit more follow-up work to do. If you recall, you can see there, that's the driver's side seat buckle. It's just not returning all the way to the top like it should. We'll see if we can address that, or like I said, we'll just pull one off one of the Red Ram seats when we pull its old seats out that we'll be swapping in these with. I won't get into it on this video, but again, just to reiterate what I said earlier, I have started looking into the wiring differences between the 10 and the 12, and again, we're going to be adding these seats specifically because they were heated seats. We're going to be putting them into our 2012, which currently does not have controls for heated seats. So we're going to address that when we get to rebuilding the interior. But with that being said, I know this has been a long video, and appreciate it if you've stuck around this far for my ramblings. For those of you who have not subscribed, please consider doing so. For those of you who have had, thank you immensely. We have surpassed the 1,400 user mark. We are quickly encroaching upon the 1,500 user member mark. And just to reiterate, I've had a couple individuals ask me this, how they can help support the channel, and for the time being, just let the ads run. Let the ads run. That's the best thing you can do right now to support the channel. It's free, doesn't cost you anything. I've looked into doing channel memberships and things of that nature, but as I said in some previous videos, it's not something I'm looking at starting, at least at least in the meantime. It's probably will be a little ways off yet. Again, just with the state of the economy the way that it is, and companies announcing layoffs and things of that nature, I don't want to put some kind of pay system out there. I'd much rather for now keep the information out there, keep it free. And all you have to do is just sit down and watch some ads. It'll help support the channel and just cost you a little bit of extra time. So if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. If you have, again, I thank you. And as you can see here, the seat shop, which I will have a link to in the description, makes I'd have to say once again, a fantastic product. And on these part numbers, to reiterate one last thing, they are, for whatever reason, becoming hard to find. The two part numbers, I was able to get 3 of the 4 heating elements from Rock Auto, and the 4th heating element I actually had to find a gentleman on eBay, and it was for one of the back ones. So Rock Auto had a bunch of the bottom ones, and they had one of the backs, and this other back one I had to source off an eBay individual. So again, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but at least these particular part numbers are coming up as discontinued, no longer available. So if you're needing these part numbers and you can find them, I strongly suggest you jump on them when you can. And with that being said, I will let you go, and I will bring you back for the next one. Thank you much.